I want to talk about some pros and some cons. So let's get into it. Hi, hey, hello, how are you? Do you know what time it is? I will tell you what time it is. It's time for another Teddy Talks ASMR video. Whoa. My name is Teddy, and I'm talking in a sort of ASMR style. In tonight's video, we are talking about the pros and the cons. The pros and the cons, the cons and the pros and the cons and the pros and the pros and the cons of teaching in the month of January. In these videos, I always talk about my day, the week, and then the month as a whole. This month is January. Now, I'm here on the weekend, and I would talk about my day, but I actually made a whole separate video just talking about how I'm feeling in the current moment. There is a lot going on, and I do plan on putting all these videos in a playlist, and I don't want this video to not be uplifting. So if you want more information or you're kind of wondering what I'm talking about, just scroll back in my channel a video or two, and I kind of go into my day in more depth, but I want to keep this video more light and normal and not bog anybody down too much. I'm okay. I'm making ASMR, so I'm doing okay. But there's not really much to say about my day. I woke up, I got ready, and I came in to school to do a little bit of work. It's the weekend, so, not filming during contract hours. There's nobody here. It's quiet, and that's about it. Now, I want to talk about last week, because I don't know how this week is going to go. I might have mentioned it before, but also, if I didn't mention this, all my earbuds keep dying, so I'm gonna have to order more. I might as well invest in a decent pair, but I kind of like being able to throw them wherever. Like if you get a pack of 5 or 10, I don't know where they end up when I lose them, but I might have a pair in my pocket or my desk or my backpack or my car, and I kind of just like take them as I need them, and I'm all out. All of them are dead or missing. So why is that so loud? That's a little quieter. Anyway, so I got these on today. And I need new earbuds. That's on my to-do list for the week. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about last week because this next week has not happened. Just a lot of standardized testing last week. We spent all week doing some testing with a new reading test, and I actually really like it because when you get the data back, it's almost instantaneous, right? Sometimes I pronounce things correctly in ASMR, but then I feel like I'm not enunciating enough. Even though I am saying it correctly, it doesn't sound correct because it's whispered. Anyway, it's instant when the data gets delivered back to you. So, whoa. I want to leave that in. So, getting the data back and looking at the system of this new reading assessment, it's been really helpful. And this reading assessment, it tells the students when they're done. If they don't run out of time, it says in the corner of the screen, because it is online, it says like you're 80% done, like keep going, you only have 20% left. And that has been so useful in limiting arguments with students, because sometimes you don't know how much they have left, and you just have to keep encouraging them to keep working on it. And that was eliminated with this So we spent all week on it. I was actually really proud of my students. There was only, out of like what, 30, 40, 50 kids that I work with, only one kid had an issue, and that was day one, and it wasn't even about the assessment. So actually kind of funny, because if we're talking about earbuds, the issue was this kid's earbuds like shattered on the ground, and he was really upset. And I was like, listen, I know that just happened and it sucks. Maybe you can ask your parents for another set, but we still gotta take this reading assessment. So yeah, I mean, I've been there. Like, I'm upset too that all my earbuds don't work, but we still got work to do. We still got ASMR videos to make, right? So what was I gonna say? That's been my week. It's just like testing. This next week is more standardized testing, probably the whole week. And then when we come back the week after that, there are only 3 days left of our semester. And then we're done for the first semester. The school year after this next week, the school year will be half over. It'll be 50% over, which, cool, like, that's fine with me. I don't know, I feel like this year's going pretty well. But it's kind of sad, you know, when I make the pros and cons videos, the month is always halfway over. Like, we are in the middle of January now. When you're seeing this, it might be even a little bit later than the middle. When I'm making it, it's like dead middle of January. But that means with this January one, the year is also half over too. I don't know, it just makes everything like go by so much faster. So that's where I'm at. So we talked about the day, talked about the week, and as far as the month, I mean, that's all I have to say. Like, the semester will end. We will begin a new semester in February. My classes this semester have been good. Normally I feel like second semester is easier because you can plan more with the students, the mix of students in your classes. I just hope they're okay. And then we kind of start the cycle of, you know, doing the semester over again. You know what I want to do? I want to talk about some pros and some cons. So let's get into it. There are quite a few, which is why I was kind of rushing at the beginning of the video. I can't see myself, so if something looks crazy, I don't know. So let's talk about the pros of teaching in January. So, you know, we go on Christmas break for like a week and a half or 2 weeks, and the first pro is that everyone is rested and reset. That is a huge piece of teaching in January. No one is really exhausted, at least right away, because you just had this long break, and there is kind of a reset, not just with students, but with teachers as well. And I always make it a point where, you know, we're doing a lot of testing right now, but if there's anything that is dire to get done, I try to get it done right away when we come back, because the energy is there. There really are like a lot less behavior issues, at least from what I see in my classes, because everyone is rested. And I feel like as we close out the semester, it's just easier to ask for certain things. I just try to ask for them earlier, because then the stress starts to set in. That might be a con later in January. So everyone is rested, everyone is reset, we're feeling good, and we're not as burnt out. And granted, that'll go away eventually, but it is felt in January, especially when we come back. Another pro is having a lot of days off. Now, if you saw the previous video I posted, I know I'm not trying to be vague, but I just don't want to bring everything into this video. We had a day off from school for a not fun reason, so I just want to have a disclaimer that I'm not talking about like bad days. I only want snow days and like staff evaluation days and grading days. I don't want any days off from school for sad things, right? So days off in January for planning and grading and stuff, and even though I'd like the days off later when I'm more burnt out, it does make January a little bit easier to get through because a lot of our weeks are short. And then we have these days where it's like, oh, I get to plan, I get to get work done without the students present. So if you're a teacher, I'm not sure how your district works, but we get a lot of days off in January, and it does make for an easier month. My last pro is kind of random, but I wanted to include it. I forget everything that happens in January, and this has been for most of my life. I feel like because it is the start of the month, like anything with how crazy the month can be, or like behavior issues or drama in the grand scheme of things, like when I think back on the whole year, I never remember what happens in January. Like, January is such a weird liminal time, and do you forget stuff in January? Like, I just feel like there's so much to do, and we get the days off. It's such a weird mix of like rest, and then things are really amping up for the end of the semester. So I feel like it's a good thing though, because if anything bad happens, I normally forget. I just do not remember anything that happens in January. Like when I think back to like student situations or classes in previous years, I'm always like, what the heck happened in January? So I think that's a pro. Like, I just try to do my best and keep it moving. I can remember other months more clearly, but January is, it eludes me for some reason. So that is it. Those were all the pros. Let's move on to the cons. Cons. Okay, let's get into the cons of teaching in January. Now, the first con is no holidays for the foreseeable future. It is a little sad when you get back to school in September. You have all these holidays lined up to look forward to, and when you come back in January, you really don't. We have Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Shout out MLK. That is just one day though, and then we really don't have any kind of holiday, because MLK Day, it's a holiday, but it's not like we dress up and get festive and it's a whole thing. We should, that'd be cool. But a lot of the holidays at the start of the year, you dress up and it's an event. There's really nothing like that for the second half of the year. We celebrate spring break, but that's not really like a holiday. You know, that's the next big break. So it is a little sad because it's still really dark out. Like, the sun still sets early when you leave work. It's winter. It's cold. The Christmas holiday festivities are kind of gone, and you're just left with winter. So no holidays for the foreseeable future is definitely a con, because there isn't anything to rally behind. The next con is students trying to turn in work last minute. So I feel like I do a pretty good job with not letting that behavior accumulate throughout the last couple weeks of the semester. I found very early on that if I just take a piece of paper, or like I print a piece of paper with the assignments that they're allowed to do, and I just say, this is it, like, you can do these assignments, and that's it. Like, anything recent you can do. Right? All the assignments are on that piece of paper, and I just hand it to them, or I hang it up. That has saved me hours of my life repeating verbally what they can do, because I am a rambler, right, in real life, and, you know, on this channel. And rambling is not always a good thing, so it limits what I have to say, and it shows them what they can do. And sometimes I make videos and put them on our little classroom site if I want to elaborate. But for the most part, yeah, students trying to turn in work last minute. And then the one thing is, when they ask, like, okay, if I get this grade on the assignment, what will my grade be? That's a lot of math for first off, we don't even know if you're going to get the assignment done. Second off, you might get 100%, but you'd have to really put in a lot of effort and like double check that. Double check your work, right? It's just conversations like that that can be a con, because you are rooting for the student to pass and they're putting in the effort, but you just hope that they don't start getting the itch to pass with like 12 hours left of the semester, you know, like you hope that they get that itch 2 to 3 weeks before we head out, right? So that can be a con, but I feel like I've really limited that with my little piece of paper or like my thing that I print out and give them. It just really limits the conversation and frames it around doing the work and choosing something to do without giving them too many options, because if you don't give them options and then they think anything is something they can do, that's almost not that's not helpful at all. So it's too many options. You just gotta limit down the options. Okay. I hate these headphones. They are moving as I talk. The cons of, not the cons, oh my gosh, the next con is lots of standardized tests. Now, I'm not having a bad time with standardized testing right now. It's going fine. There are a lot to do. I'm trying to keep morale high and, you know, all that good stuff. The issue is when the student behavior is really rough, it can make it really rough to do the standardized testing, especially when you're not the one that is requiring them to do it. And then sometimes you are required to have them do it. And they're like, well, it's not for the school, it's for you. Yeah, but I need to be able to get data and report and guide your learning with this data. So please help me out. So yeah, the standardized testing is really dependent on student behavior and the people that you work with. Luckily, it's going well right now. Try not to blow in the mic. The last con is registration. This might be more of a February topic. February. But, as a teacher, you will have to register students for next semester or next year, depending on how your school does it. The longer that you're a teacher, the easier it gets until it's not easy. You get used to a certain way of classes being presented and things being available, and everything is so dependent on what the student can do, what they can pass, what they did not pass, what they want, what is offered, and you really just try your best as a teacher. That's what I've learned. But it's just hard. Like, I wish that there were people that were dedicated to registration that could give more like guidance and like concrete feelings of like it's gonna be okay. Because I am honest with my students. I'm like, listen, you need to ask this or this to this person. I can't answer or know everything, but I will try. And it's just crazy. Like, you think you have it down one year and then they switch it up on you the next year or the next semester. So yeah, registration can be really crazy, and I don't even really know, you know, I'm not the one that's leading it. We have deans or like counselors that really finalize the scheduling, and there's always a couple kids where the schedules come back to you and there's question marks, and everyone's like asking you why you allowed a certain thing, and you're like, I didn't even know that it was allowed or not, or that anything was wrong. You have to get the form signed by your teacher, so I have to sign off on a lot of different forms for people, and sometimes they just don't have me sign them, and then they get, you know, turned in and things are wrong, and then I don't get blamed, but then people are like, well, why didn't you check in with them? Because there's so many kids, like, I can only do so much. Let's talk about things that are both pros and cons. As you know, yin and the yang, I always have a both section, because some things in life are both good and So, we only have one thing that is a pro and a con for the month of January. And that is that everyone hibernates. Social plans die down. And what I mean by that, if you remember the September pros and cons, that was the first one I ever did actually. I talked about how September is a month where all the teachers are kind of coming back, and so everyone wants to hang out and talk. And if you're a social person, like I am sometimes, that is cool, and you want to, partake in that and get in on that. January is a little different, and I started to notice this in my first few years teaching, where you come back in January and it feels like everyone disappears, and you don't start to see people until the end of the school year. Everyone is tired from the holidays. We're tired of socializing with our families. We're tired of talking to coworkers about how, winter break was, because there's so many people that ask you, how's your break? 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 But yeah, I feel like it is a pro and a con, because it's sad that you're not seeing everybody as much, but people get really busy. As I've mentioned, there's a lot of cons for this month, registration and the end of the semester, so people are busy. But a pro of it, if you're like me, I get tired, and so I don't know, I feel like I was so busy this year, not even with the channel, but like my social life, all these weddings and like events, and just a lot was happening. I'm really looking forward to January being quiet. For me personally, I'm just talking about me, like my life being quiet. I want to have some open weekends and not do anything. Kind of like this weekend, honestly. It wasn't too busy. But yeah, that's just a pro and a con. Like, everyone hibernates, things die down, and I would say around April, people start to emerge again, do things after work, or I don't know. It just seems like January, February, maybe March are just like cold winter months with no holidays, and midway through the school year you kind of like a little bit, and the end of the semester can get you down. So it's good and bad, it is what it is. That is all I have for you tonight. Do you know what time it is? I will tell you what time it is. It's time for me to head out. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, wherever you're at. I really needed this. I know that I was talking really, really fast. That's just because I have to get going. And I already filmed that other video, which you're probably wondering, in the other video, excuse me, sorry. In the other video, like, that doesn't seem like a hard one to film, but I probably spent like 2 hours trying to say something and nothing was working. But I did say everything I wanted to say in this video. I just felt like I had to speed it up a little bit. So, thank you. I post on Mondays and Thursdays on my main channel, or like on, main channel videos on those days, and then I post shorts, one short every day, basically. I am going to head out, and I hope that the rest of your